this gun will always be a reminder of those two things my father kind of just taught me real quick in passing that day. But I don't want to let go of this because some bureaucrat somewhere decided the good have to suffer for the bad. So and so did something bad with his rifle, so now we're gonna take everyone's rifles. Like, I just don't, I can't get down with that, and that line of thinking just doesn't make sense. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Whole Views. I hope that you're subscribed. I hope that you are helping me to reach my goals. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and more importantly, welcome back to Firearms Friday. I've actually been having my rifle out ready to do this video all day long, so no more talking about subscriptions and likes and things like that. Let's go ahead and talk about one, why I despise gun control, and two, breaking down the AK, why it's important, what purposes it serves, and how I have mine set up. So we have here an AK-47, right? So when you look at it, you think it's an AK, but it's actually a Saiga. I don't know if you can read, but it's imported from Russia. It has a chrome lined barrel. It was made at the Izmash factory. That means nothing. I know that, but it was imported. I bought it about 10 years ago in a sporter configuration for about $380 after tax. Just a glimpse back to how wonderful things used to be. So before getting into the way it's set up here, and that might even be a whole separate video, I want to talk about gun control and just why it's so disgusting, right? So getting into the gun and the history of it and why I detest gun control. So personal stuff. About 10 years ago, my father had some surgeries for some tumors on his kidneys and his liver, and it was some rough stuff. Before knowing about them, we didn't know that it was a big deal. You know, it just kind of popped up and okay, let's do a surgery, let's get it done. It was a rough surgery. It took a long time. It took a long time for him to heal. He was in his 50s at the time, again, 10 years back. My father is a busybody, you know, so he was home probably for another 4 to 6 weeks after the surgery and just basically restricted to in the house. And he's not an in the house person. He is fishing, he is fixing things, he is gardening, he is doing stuff from before the sun comes up to when the sun goes down, most days. He works and then come home and finds more work. That's the type of person he is. Him being in the house was difficult for him. I had purchased this rifle again in the sporter configuration, so there was no flash hider here. This gas tube was not present. It was like a stock, sleek gas tube. The handguard was just a piece of plastic. The trigger that you see here is a Tapco trigger. It was actually back here where this handle is, and there was like some linkage, I guess, that like linked the trigger to the firing pin that was way up here. It's stupid. It had a shotgun style Monte Carlo stock on it, and I just couldn't, you know, I didn't want to keep it in that configuration, so I did everything I could on my own. Like, I drilled out the rivets and placed these little black things, and I moved the trigger up, and I did all this work back here and installed stocks and stuff, not this furniture. I'll roll in some pictures in one of the videos about how we set up, but there's one part, and I'll just rip it apart. I don't know if you'll be able to see with the lighting and the conditions back here, but this little buddy right here, this was the thing that I feared the most when it came to setting up my own rifle. This little piece is called a bullet guide. So I had installed the trigger, I done everything except cut this little piece of metal off the thread of the muzzle here and thread it, which I did later. But the thing that intimidated me was the bullet guide, where you have to drill a hole and then tap that hole. I did not have access to power tools like that back then. My father did, and I had no knowledge of, you know, machining and stuff like that, but father did. So got with Pops and I said, you know, I know you're just getting out of the hospital and everything. You know, you've been out for about, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks at the time. He had been home, but really hadn't been outside and hadn't done anything, right? So his first act of doing anything in the house, first act of like getting outside and trying to like gauge his strength from being so weakened by this surgery, was me and him sitting down under the carport on some buckets, white buckets that he would go fishing with. And we didn't have a drill press. We just used hand drill. And I hand drilled this hole under his watchful eye. I tapped it under his watchful eye. And we had gotten to a point where if you've ever tapped a hole that you drill in metal, the threading is really, really tight. You know, you gotta use a lot of oil, cutting oil and things like that. And I'd gotten to a point where I thought the tapping bit would break. And my father said, son, he taught me two things in that moment. He said, son, I don't know what I'm doing, and nor do you. But that does not stop you from going forward with something. It's okay. I understand. Second thing he told me, we don't start something just to quit. Is the tap broken? I said, no. He said, well, we're going to go until either we are successful or it breaks. And to me, that was just my father. I know I grew up with my dad. You know what I'm saying? I knew he was a tough guy. I knew as far as like mental determination, grit is what we call it. He had it. He always did. It was never a big deal. It was kind of instilled in me in that moment of like, I was ready to throw in the towel. Like, well, we've ruined this gun. You know, I can't figure this out. I might have to go to a gunsmith. And he was like, no, we're gonna do this successfully. And we did, man. You know, so this gun will always be a reminder of those two things my father kind of just taught me real quick in passing that day. But I don't want to let go of this because some bureaucrat somewhere decided the good have to suffer for the bad. So and so did something bad with his rifle, so now we're gonna take everyone's rifles. Like, I can't get down with that. And that line of thinking just doesn't make sense. If they say like, hey, you gotta turn everything in, I'm like, man, this is near and dear to me. It's not just, oh, I'm clinging on to my rifles. Like, this is a memory I made with my father, man. Like, it can't be replaced. I've thought about selling this gun for years, and the thing that always kept me from letting go of it was the fact that, like, man, I'll never, even if I forget things, I can always look at this and know, like, yo, like, me and my father sat down together and did this at a time where he was weakened and he was frail. Like, this was his first test of strength, and me and him did that together. So I don't know, man. I could never just say, oh yeah, I'll turn this thing in just because you want me to. Like, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult for you than that. Moving on from that and getting into the rifle itself and how I have it configured and all the missteps over the past 10 years of having this. I think I can probably make this one big, but we're gonna do from the tip to the buttstock in this case. So on the front end, I have a Tapco muzzle brake. Now, if I want to be real with y'all, this was just the cheapest muzzle brake available. You will notice a theme with me in firearms. I try to go as cheap as possible for everything. Not because I don't believe in high quality parts, but one, I do believe that if things are done and made well, the price should not necessarily deter you or encourage you to get it. Like, if they say this light is a $350 light, but I have a $30 light that is just as good for practical applications, why not get the $30 one? I know the $300, the $250 one might shine a mile down the road. I don't need a mile down the road. I need to light up my house. I need to light up my yard, and this $30 light that I put on here is good enough. Moving further down, my sights are slightly canted. It's not something that I even tried to correct, just because I understand how these guns are made. They are made cheap. They are made fairly badly. So I've noticed that, it's a very little bit to the right, and I just compensate for that. And we've always shot decent with this rifle up to 150 yards. So, you know, that's cool with me. I'm fine with that. Even with irons, we always shot fairly well. Moving to the handguard, we have the AK MOE, right? So I got the FDE at the bottom, but I have the little black at the top. That is because I used to have the Zukov. Let me show it to you. So the Zukov, right? This is the Zukov handguard. And if you just, you know, comparison right here, it's a little bit longer. I did not have a retainer clip on the front handguard. I had to order that. If you saw my previous Firearms Friday, I was waiting on that part to come in. Last week it came in and we hooked them up, and now we're secure and we're good to go. But for me, a gun should have a purpose, and this gun's purpose is to like patrol the house. If I ever need to patrol the house, if we're ever without power, like I think about hurricane situations where we've been, you know, at least 3-4 days no power, and it's like, hey, you can't call a cop. Who knows if they're gonna come or not? Like, I need something to protect. This gun is that, you know, home protector gun, and it's mainly due to the fact of the weight of this gun, right? So, you know, coming back around, the Zukov stock, or foreign, the Zukov foreign, is a pound. 15 ounces, I think. That's a pound, right? The MOE handguard is like 7 ounces. So it's like, that's about half. I'm cool with just half. Because in this configuration, on this rifle as you see it, this gun weighs 10 pounds and 7 ounces. That is too much to take on the road or to move around with great distance. That's why, it's, you know, the design of this gun has been designated to be home. If we ever had to leave home for any reason, if I have to venture out, this gun does not come. It will be sacrificed and left behind. Continuing to move down the gun, I did not have the open standard AK sights. I installed long time back, don't even remember when, I believe this is like Krebs Customs. I could be wrong. Does it say on here? No, it says nothing. This is a Ghost Ring peep sight. I like it better. It's similar to the AR systems that I've always had. Similar to the little thing I have on my Ruger 1022. So it feels familiar to have a Ghost Ring sight, like a place to put the front sight post. My eyes are bad, as you can see, and that flat open sight with the little notch in the middle, I didn't feel it was adequate. So we moved on from that. On the internals, like I said, I believe the barrel is chrome lined. I could be wrong. The bullet guide is installed, so I can use standard AK mags. We are loaded, but nothing is in the chamber. I just keep the safety lever up. I never got the enhanced safety, and I thought about it for years to get the enhanced safety as we continue to move down, because there's a little notch in it. Now, we all seen mud tests at this point. We've all seen the dust tests and things like that, and we know how the tolerances of this gun lend itself for things to get in, and things can dirty it up and muck it up and like jam it up. As much as people talk about the reliability of the AK, you can just, you know, search mud tests of AK and you can see it fails badly. So I don't want any extra openings here. It's bad enough I actually have an opening here for something. I don't remember what it was. It might have been like a hold open feature, bolt hold open feature, but I removed it. I never put it back. So we already have a hole here. If you looking hard enough, you can see holes in here. It's a little too open. So I didn't do the enhanced safety for that reason. When we look at the trigger, this is a Tapco G2 trigger. I've always felt like it was good. Didn't feel like the need to put in anything more fancy. I kept my original rivets. This red dot is from Primary Arms. This mount, I don't know where I got this. Years ago, I don't know where I got this. Maybe my brother gave it to me. I have no idea. But again, in this configuration, 10.75 pounds. If I do this and slide this boy off, this is 15 ounces, and now this gun is what it was, 9.10 ounces, 9 pounds 10 ounces, correction. So even with no red dot, it's still like a full pound heavier than my AR, with a scope on it, which we will talk about in another video. But for that reason, again, I just don't want to be lugging this around anywhere. Continuing the move, we have a Tapco. This is not Tapco. This is a Magpul grip. I did have a Tapco, the saw grip on it at first. I actually had all Tapco furniture at one point. We had like the Interfuse handguard, trash. We had the T6 stock adapter and all that whole setup, trash. We had the saw grip on it at one point. It wasn't that bad. I didn't like the trap door at the bottom, trash. So over the years, again, I think I've spent more money on furniture for this than I did for the whole rifle. If the whole rifle was $380, the Tapco set might have been $100. And then before I put on, finally at the end, the Zukov stock, I did have, and still do have right over there, I have the MOE stock. But okay, let's talk back about weight again. So this is a whole pound as well. If I took this off and put the MOE on, I think we would reduce like by half a pound, maybe, or like 6 ounces or something like that. But the reason why we stick with the Zukov stock instead of the Zukov handguard is because, one, I am super cheap and I don't want to buy a QD cup to drop in the MOE stock and then a screw to screw it in and make sure it stays. Like, that aggravates me that they didn't just put a QD socket in here. Right, so we have a QED socket that came with this one, as well as you have adjustable length of pull. I am 6 foot tall, and I feel like having this extra, this is like 2 inches? I don't know. Whatever it is, having the adjustable length of pull is worth it. That I can shoulder this gun and maneuver it much, much better than I could with the MOE stock. So we took the MOE stock off, we put the Zukov on very recently, and this is how the gun primarily stays in this configuration. We do have a light up here. I think this is a Fiachi light. It's decent for checking out the house, or going look in the backyard if we hear noises from the animals or something back there. So that's all this is for. This is not for long distance, 1,000 lumens. Like, we don't have all that. We don't need all that. We good with what we got right here, right? So this is how it's set up. I'm actually planning on selling this. This is a Primary Arms red dot, micro dot. It's a very good little red dot. Does not have any rounds through it, but my brother has one, been having it for a long time. Actually, I say he has it, he sold it. But it's working good on the person he sold it to. Might be able to get that rifle and pull it into. He has a way better mount. He has an RS mount that he sold it with, and lighter weight because of the weight restrictions that come with this big boy. And again, the magazine, right? So AKs come with steel mags, and you can get polymer PMags, but again, my mind is so suspicious and I think about the things that could go wrong. I would not trust a PMag or any polymer mag that didn't like come from factory with some metal tabs or something. So I rock primarily the old surplus European mags. I tried my best to get my hands on a Bakelite. I could not get it. I tried my best to get my hands on some Circle 10 mags. People in the AK world probably know what I'm talking about. Could not get them. I'm left with this, and because I have this, again, this is 15 ounces weighted before we came back here and shot. 15 ounces per magazine, so basically a pound per mag loaded. I never have less than 6 of anything, so that's a lot to put in a vest and walk around with, which is why, again, in a situation that would call for it, this gun would be, let's stay at home, let's ride out whatever situation we have. This gun would be the gun that we walk around and patrol the house and make sure nobody's like trying to sneak in and take what's ours, or hurt the 5 women that I'm in charge of, like, are entrusted to protect, or like, no. This gun is gonna be that gun. Its round is decent enough for the distances that I'm thinking about having to use it if I had to use it. It has a lot of penetration power, which is actually something that I want because I'm in a relatively urban environment. So yeah, this is set up to stay here. Magazines, I don't want to be toting 6 pounds of magazines and bullets. I have a lot of steel case rounds, and again, steel case is a little bit heavier than brass. 7.62 by 39 is a little bit heavier than, a good bit heavier than 5.56. So it's like, yes, we'll leave. If we had to leave and abandon this home, which I don't see going well, we would not take this. So it's not set up to hit the road and go and all that other stuff. So it's a stay-at-home weapon, a bug-in type weapon, set to protect the immediate family that I'm with. And again, because it's rocked so well, again, probably close to 1,000 rounds through this gun with its not current configuration, but close to current configuration. And I feel confident that I could go through almost any situation with this gun. And because of that, I hold it near and dear. And because of the experiences with my pops, I hold it near and dear. The AK is one of my favorites. Could never let it go without a fight. Also, to those people who like this functionality, this folding thing of the Zukov, this is a novelty, everyone. You can fire this gun like this, but I actually seen a guy do it on Instagram. I really like his page. Guy up there in Arkansas, he does a lot of AK drills, and he can shoot and he can hit steel with this. Fold it like this. I have no interest. So the Zukov only serves the purpose of that QD socket that I'm too cheap to purchase, and the adjustable length to pull, which is a whole lot of value for me. Just being able to shoulder this thing well and, you know, put it in my elbow and work it the other way, kind of painful and just not, it's not what I like. I like this. So that's all for the AK video. I love my rifle. Hold it near and dear. Got a couple that I like a whole lot, but this would be the go-to if I had to protect all these ladies. So hope you enjoyed me explaining, breaking down, you know, the history of this particular rifle that I have in the setup. And I pray safety upon everybody. I pray that we never have to use these things in the situations that we cook up in our heads. Pray for everybody's vigilance, man, that we could stay vigilant and alert of the threats, and just everyone's safety in general. I think that's the most important thing. Safety and peace. So anyway, I've enjoyed making the video. It was everything I was hoping it would be. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, come back and check out more.